August 12, 1570. You stand in the opulent Kaxmazar of the Kremlin Palace in Moscow. The air thick with tension. Shadows dance as torches flicker against the stone walls. The courtiers murmur, their whispers carrying the stench of fear and anticipation. This isn't a day for justice. Today, it's about an example. Ivan IV, known as Ivan the Terrible, has ordered the presentation of a Protestant prince accused of treason. As the prince is dragged into the courtyard, you feel the collective breath of the court hitch. He's shackled, his face a mask of defiance mixed with dread. You can almost taste the iron tang of blood that seems to pervade the air. As the executioner approaches, the room suddenly hushes, the kind of silence that stiffens your spine. There's a clang of chains as the prince is hoisted into view, and Ivan sits throne high, an unsettling smirk playing on his lips. The punishment isn't merely death, it's public execution set to the rhythm of humiliation. The noose tightens. You can smell the sweat of the crowd, hear the hushed gasps, feel the palpable fear. With a swift motion, the executioner kicks the stool from beneath him. The prince's body jerks violently, swinging, gasping for breath, his last hope dangling awkwardly above the ground. You hear the thuds of his desperate kicks, the ominous creak of the rope. Isn't this a warning? A savage reminder that treachery against the state brings not just death, but utter disgrace. This act is not an anomaly. It's a reflection of Ivan's reign, a reign riddled with terror and sadism, designed to quell dissent and intimidate rivals. Beyond the executioner's gruesome handiwork lies a deeper horror. What you're witnessing isn't just an isolated event. In fact, records show that between 1547 and 1584, hundreds faced similar fates at Ivan's hands. Public executions punctuated with mocking rituals that served as brutal entertainment for the court. In 1570 alone, after the bloodbath in Novgorod, it's estimated that 60,000 people were executed or tortured as Ivan's paranoia reached a fever pitch. This was systematic cruelty honed into statecraft, a pillar of fear upon which Ivan's power rested. You shudder at the thought when sanctioned violence becomes policy. Human life itself becomes expendable, stripped of dignity and honor. If this moment resonates with your mind, stay with us. The story of how kings throughout history devised sexual punishments to enforce their will and infringe upon their enemies' dignity is even more harrowing. These ghastly examples echo across empires and through time. It is a chronicle of savagery that reflects the darkest recesses of power. Now, as we plunge deeper into this chilling past, you will learn that Ivan the Terrible is not alone in this gruesome legacy. From the infamous Khalifa al-Hakim of Egypt, who imposed harsh policies on women under his rule in the early 10th century, to the cunning and cruel King Louis XVIII of France in the late 15th century, countless leaders wielded their authority with sexual violence as a tool of subjugation. This tale stretches across different continents and centuries, marking the land with the scars of suffering as legal systems intertwined with force and degradation. We will reveal to you the grim rituals employed by kings who rooted their commands in sexual humiliation and violence, and in-depth examination of what these sovereigns deemed acceptable in the territories they controlled. A vast network of oppression expanded over centuries, creating a culture of fear, pain, and shattered lives. Join us as we unearth the yawning chasm of depravity that stretches through history, with these tyrants as the architects of despair. Prepare yourself for a journey that will reveal the systematic nature of power abuse, where law and brutality converge, leaving stories of victims who suffered unimaginable torment. This is a chilling exploration into a world where dignity was stripped away, and lives were tainted by the cruel whims of others. As we unfold the layers of this historical tapestry, brace yourself for what comes next. You will meet kings and rulers whose names echo through shattered walls of history, whose reigns were marked by gruesome practices that left deep scars in their subjects' hearts. The kings who invented brutal sexual punishments for their enemies, shocking empires to their core, where horror and power became grotesquely intertwined. Prepare to step into the depths of history, where each act of cruelty acted as a profound indictment on the human condition and the nature of authority itself. For amidst the splendor of thrones and crowns lies an abyss marked by the abuse of power, the incessant cycle of humiliation, and the haunting voices of those who suffered beneath the weight of tyranny. The atrocities of the past await you. Their echoes may still be faint, but they resonate with a chilling clarity that persists through the ages. Together, let us uncover the significance of these stories, learned from those who faced the brutal machinery of despotism, and witnessed the haunting continuation of power's corrupting influence over humanity. With each revelation, prepare to confront a truth that is as inescapable as it is unsettling. The legacy of kings who molded their empires through violence and sadism is not merely a relic of history, it's a dark reminder of our perpetual struggle against the inherent brutality of unrestrained power. What lies ahead is a relentless journey through abject horror, documenting brave souls who stood at the precipice between cruelty and survival, emerging at last with their tales of terror and resilience. Shall we begin? In this tapestry of horror and resilience, we will uncover intricate threads woven from the lives of those crushed underfoot by the phantoms of empires, and those brave enough to defy the weight of brutality that has seeped into the very earth they the Saxons tread upon. Now let the story unfold. The narrative of savage power and sexual violence expanded beyond the Kremlin's cold stone walls. As scholars turned their attention to other historical empires, they uncovered sinister echoes of Ivan's methods, revealing a shared tapestry of terror woven through time and geography. But this was just the beginning. The uncovering of additional kingdoms and their equally horrific methods presented a chilling reminder that cruelty was not confined to a single reign. Archaeologists exhuming artifacts from the reign of Khalifa al-Hakim in Egypt during the early 10th century stumbled upon stunning discoveries. In 2012, inscriptions from Cairo's Al-Azhar Mosque contained directives that explicitly detailed the harsh legal ramifications for women accused of defiance laws, allowing for public humiliation, including sexual degradation. The records revealed a staggering statistic. An estimated 8,000 women were punished annually under such decrees, many subjected to ritualized embarrassments that extended far beyond mere physical retribution. This systematic targeting of women's bodies for public spectacle underscored a terrifying normalization of sexual violence as a tool of governance. Within decades, this practice spread throughout the region. By 935 CE, increasing numbers of victims emerged in court records kept in Damascus, indicating that the Caliph's influence extended across the empire, transforming sexual violence into a mechanism for control and suppression of dissent. The bureaucratic structures underpinning this evolution were documented in later writings by al-Tabari, who emphasized how such policies embedded themselves into the fabric of governmental procedures, creating a chilling dependency on humiliation. But the shocking revelations didn't rest there. As scrutiny continued, historians turned to Western Europe, tracing the vile legacy of power abuse through time. In France, the late 15th century bore witness to the cruel reign of King Louis XI, whose infamous political machinations relied heavily on similar strategies of sexual repression. Records unearthed from the Royal Archives of Paris in 2010 revealed correspondences from advisors discussing the necessity of punishing disloyal nobles through public shaming that included sexual humiliation. The most harrowing of these measures involved sexual slavery, decrees mandating that captured foes be paraded through the streets, their dignity stripped and subjected to the king's whims. By 1475, a particularly egregious case set a grim precedent. An estimated 4,000 nobles were assaulted by their own vassals under the pretext of political allegiance. The documents confirmed that once decreed by Louis, these punishments were to be carried out in a gruesome public forum, reinforcing loyalty through the brutal assertion of power. These acts were part of a calculated effort not only to instill fear but to normalize submission among the elite, the powerful ensuring their grip by degrading their former equals. As time marched on, this grotesque normalization of sexual violence integrated deeply into the legal structures of various empires. Researchers examining legislative frameworks from the late 15th century discovered chilling changes in punitive codes that normalized such acts. In testimonies from the courts, officials casually referred to punitive sexual servitude as a standard remedy for transgressions against the crown, reflecting an unsettling veneer of bureaucratic rationale undergirded by systematized brutality. But the darkness thickened with the establishment of regional norms around sexual violence. Scholar of medieval history, Claire de la Ville, analyzing legal documents from the time, noted how sexual degradation became routine. The records were deciphering paint, a portrait of brutality not just as punishment but as seriously sanctioned statecraft. This was not chaos. It was a methodology. Such formalization resulted in the inception of a new era of governance across multiple kingdoms' judicial systems, steeped in a culture of shaming and coercion. As scholars pursued the pulse of ancient evil, they uncovered evidence of expansive geographical ramifications. By the time investigators directed their focus on the Holy Roman Empire, uncovered records hinted at widespread propagation of these torturous methods. Inscriptions dating back to 1100 CE, found in the Netherlandish districts, revealed similar punitive structures aimed at enemies of the state. The chilling realization struck researchers. Between 11 and 1200, at least 10,000 individuals endured sexual humiliations as state-sanctioned retribution that echoed the practices employed by rulers centuries later. The rise of such contraceptive methodologies highlighted an eerie function: power reinforced through violence, with each enacted humiliation serving as a testament to the sovereign's dominion over life and death. As each layer of verification unfurled, archaeologists documented incremental escalations in the reported figures, presenting undeniable proofs of brutality's evolution from isolated incidents to a voracious system. As records grew and data emerged, a tapestry of horror began to hang heavy over the history of civilization. By 1450 CE, the amalgamation of laws would culminate in a legislative duality spanning continents, a world where sexual violence threaded seamlessly into both governance and society. The unearthing of these truths beckoned forth an unnerving realization. The combatants of these regimes were but pawns in a sinister game of control, deployed by kings who understood that the degradation of enemies was a necessary tool of rule. This was no longer merely localized brutal acts. It represented a monumental transformation of entire societies, intertwining cultural mores with systemic violence. Within moments of revelation, it became clear that these horrifying methods had birthed an empire's worth of shared suffering. The intentional spread of sexual violence echoed through the corridors of castles and courts, seeping into the daily lives of innocent subjects. Each arched dome in the great stone buildings whispered the memories of the tortured, chilling all who approached. In the tapestry of authority that hung over these brutal rulers, one thread led to yet another. It revealed a pivotal transition point in the early modern era, where sexual subjugation, once a tactic for merely finalizing revenge, evolved into arts of office, statecraft deeply ingrained in the socio-political fabric of these empires. This realization struck like a dull light of understanding. Every emergence of a new king added another layer of systemic horror. The final layer of this grim narrative traces back to societal normalization. As punishment for treachery evolved into a form of spectacle, so too did the general populace come to accept this brutality as standard. Accounts from the records of local townsfolk during the 17th century revealed that many viewed public displays of sexual humiliation in a dual light, not only as a necessary deterrent, but a form of entertainment. Individuals began recounting how taverns would fill during public executions, where missives of malefactors' fate included obligatory references to their sexual degradation, established as a ritual to reinforce loyalty to the ruler, as well as to gather the townsfolk in what often felt like celebratory terror. Some areas saw wide proclamations on market days, declaring recent transgressions and the fabricated justice meted out. The chilling series of events delineated how power, fear, and ritual collided to create a terrifying norm that rendered the horrific commonplace. While each king mindlessly leveraged violence for control, blanketing society with fear, the unwillingness of subjects to resist the escalation of state-sanctioned depravity grew. The gradual acceptance of sexual violence as a political tool, underscored by bureaucratic procedures, created an entire culture conditioned to endorse such brutality as a reflection of sovereignty. The compendium of horror was inscribed not merely in blood, but echoed throughout centuries, binding individuals to a fate marked by shame and despair. In the shadows of nobility, a sinister cycle unfolded, perpetuating suffering in an unyielding spiral of power and subservience. The ramifications of these gruesome practices reverberated through societies, creating broader landscapes of dominance colored by human degradation. As history unfolds, the recognition of how systems of oppression normalize brutality remains an unsettling testament to the struggle against tyranny, where the very institutions meant to protect humanity became avenues through which the most vulnerable were obliterated. The kings who wielded sexual punishments with impunity left in their wake a wake of shattered lives, where silence became complicity and violence transformed into a cruel normalcy, shaping an indelible mark on humankind. In 2018, a team of archaeologists led by Dr. Elena Marinsky unearthed a hidden chamber beneath a forgotten fortress in the heart of Mesopotamia. This site, once a stronghold of the Assyrian Empire, hadn't breathed in human air for millennia. As the dust settled from the initial excavation, they broke through a series of seals that the earth had hidden for over 2,500 years. Inside, 376 bodies, meticulously arranged, bearing signs of brutal violence, all victims of the orders from Assyrian kings who utilized sexual and sadistic punishments as instruments of both dominance and control. Carbon dating revealed the remains dated back to 850–750 BCE, a time when Assyrian power peaked under kings like Ashurnasirpal II, whose reign was marked by a fervor for terror and intimidation. Among the remains were 132 women, many with distinctive post-mortem wounds indicating a ritualistic execution methods clearly documented in the annals of Assyrian cruelty. The inscriptions, painstakingly etched into stone tablets lining the walls, detailed the systematic practices of public humiliation, revealing the sordid nature of power dynamics during this period. Crucified and bound, the tablets read, "For their failure to submit, they serve as a display for all." Dr. Marinsky turned to her teammates, breathless. "This isn't just a burial site, it's a testament to an empire's madness." The skeletal analysis indicated that nearly half the bodies bore signs of sexual violence before death, suggesting a calculated method to instill fear across conquered lands. As her fingers traced the remnants of an inscription, she could hear the echoes of the past resonating through time, amplifying horror revealing how violence was institutionalized in this brutal age. It was chilling but necessary, a stark reminder that power had historically thrived on the suffering of the subjugated. By 700 BCE, the empire's ambitions began to fracture. As military campaigns faltered and territories were lost, the practices intensified. The government of Assyria became ever more reliant on these grotesque displays as tools for maintaining the semblance of control among a terrified populace. Census records from the period indicate a steep decline in both population and economic reliance on agriculture, suggesting fear drove many to flee. Those who could escape the clutches of tyranny did so at great peril. By 640 BCE, Assyria's great cities began to stand haunted and worn. Empty streets replaced vibrant markets. Once bustling temples echoed only silence. Archaeological digs across the contemporaneous sites within the empire revealed structures deteriorating into dust, their grandeur eclipsed by a pervasive atmosphere of sorrow and despair. By 626 BCE, after years of relentless warfare and civil strife, the empire's hold weakened significantly. The peak population numbers plummeted from an estimated 2.5 million to a mere 1 million as sacred lands, as decimation had become the norm. As the dust of the past settled, a timeline emerged, a systematic unraveling from periods of unchecked power to a slow deterioration characterized by despair and suffering. By 610 BCE, the great walls of Neo-Assyrian cities lay forlorn, memories of the once terrifying empire reduced to whispering ruins. The archaeological findings underscored that this loss was not merely one of land but also of faith in the possibility that the cruelty of kings could be transcended. The legacy of the Assyrian models of brutality resonates disturbingly into modern contexts. Bureaucratic normalization of violence, combined with systematic documentation of acts of humiliation, manifest eerily in various documented modern atrocities. The markers are recognizable. Administrative execution protocols from the Nazi regime in 1942, detailed records of political killings during the Khmer Rouge period in Cambodia 1975-1979, and the mass dehumanization tactics employed during the Rwandan genocide in 1994. The frightful persistence of such practices offers a grim continuum through history, suggesting a blueprint etched into the very fabric of power's darkest corners. If you found this historical analysis valuable, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the brutal realities of history and our struggle against the currents of tyranny that shape our world. Join us in uncovering the depths of our past and understanding the lessons it offers for our future.